What's up, YouTube? Warren here, and welcome to FlixFeed. I know it's been a long time since I've done a review, let alone do anything in this channel. But there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that to you guys in an upcoming video down the road. For my first review, I just saw Wonder Woman 1984, and if you saw the title to the thumbnail, pretty much this movie pissed me off. Now, I'm not like as pissed as I was when I saw Justice League for the first time. I was really looking forward to that movie, even though I thought that DC was trying to be like Marvel, and instead of doing their own thing, taking their time with the characters and making us really love the characters, love the solo movies before making this one big Avengers type movie. They rushed it. Even though it took years to get to that point, I still felt they rushed it. So we got what we got. And I know there was a lot of stuff behind that, mostly directed by Joss Whedon, who took over, and I'm not going to go into it. You already know the story. So there's a lot of issues with that movie, and unfortunately for me, it has become the worst DCEU movie that was ever released. And that broke my heart, and I was pissed about that. But this movie, I wouldn't say close second, but it pissed me off as well. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. But before I do, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, go ahead and do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. And also hit that notification bell. That way you can be notified when I post new videos. And if you end up liking this video or find it helpful or useful or value, please hit a like as well. It will help the algorithm and all that good stuff. Wonder Woman 1984. So why did it piss me off? Well, saw it yesterday with my brother, and I know it's just been a day and maybe I might have to watch it a couple more times, but upon further reflection, at first I thought it was okay, but then after the day went by, I thought that the movie was horrible, and that broke my heart, and that's why I'm pissed. Well, one of the reasons why I'm pissed. I was looking forward to this movie. Granted, I'm looking forward to hopefully a Man of Steel sequel someday. That's really what I want. And we got this. Now, I get it. I know the movie. I'm not in the movie business, but I know what business is. So I get it why they wanted to do a sequel to Wonder Woman, especially when the previous Wonder Woman was so successful. Excuse me, was so successful. And that's really the main reason behind it. It got so successful that, obviously, they want to make another movie. You know, it made more money than Man of Steel. It was the first solo DCEU movie since Man of Steel that actually made box office records. Both critics and audiences loved it. So, yeah, it makes sense to make a Wonder Woman sequel, which they did because of the current pandemic. There's probably a year delay at least. I wasn't really tracking, but it felt like a year. This was supposed to come out last year. Obviously, it didn't. And saw it in HBO Max. Great that there's that platform so you can be able to watch it if you don't want to watch it in the movie theater. Although I think it would be better in the movie theater. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter because this movie wasn't good. And I'll get to that. So this might be all over the place because it's just my first thoughts right now. But as you know, Wonder Woman stars Gal Gadot again, and I wouldn't say she embodies Wonder Woman. I never thought that even from the first movie. She's all right. You know, I think they still could have found better actresses to play Wonder Woman, but we got Gal Gadot, and she was pretty good. She's beautiful. I just don't think she has the presence of a Wonder Woman. Then again, how would I really know that? Because there's different iterations of Wonder Woman in a way. So it's neither here nor there. She was okay in the movie. She was better in the first one, I thought. And even then, she still, I thought, could have been better in her acting, but overall, her character there, the way she was written in that movie, was a lot better than this one. Um, did I notice also that there's a lot less action sequences in this movie, which is another thing that pissed me off. I guess it shouldn't because you can't really expect a lot. You can still have a good movie, a good comic book movie with less action. The only thing is, though, the script, the dialogue, it's kind of cheesy, it's cringeworthy in some areas. Movie tropes that didn't execute well, in my opinion. Uh, but really took me out of the movie was the CGI and the green screen. Patty Jenkins, the director who directed the first one, as you know, did a great job, and that's another reason it pissed me off. Is because I was kind of looking forward to her vision, her take in this sequel, which also was placed in a timeline which I love, which is the 80s. I was kind of looking forward to that. And it definitely was the 80s, except that I wish they played more familiar 80s music. I couldn't really remember if there was any 80s music that I remember from my childhood or that are popular in the day, back in the day, that was played. Um, but the environment definitely felt 80s. I think they were fine with that. But that's the thing, though. Any time period type movies, I mean, at this time, they do a pretty good job on recreating that timeline. However, the story, and I don't know if they were trying to do that on purpose, because there's a lot of 80s movies that were cheesy, but that was the 80s. So maybe some of this cheese that I saw yesterday was part of that reason, but maybe it isn't. And that concerns me because if you're if a director and Patty's caliber, and after directing the first Wonder Woman, it's just a downer that it this is what came out, you know. And I don't know, it's kind of like Kingsman: The Secret Service. The second sequel was okay, but definitely wasn't as good as the first one. So maybe Patty has that bug where you can't really, when they direct the second sequel, it's not going to be as good as the first. I don't know, but then you got Christopher Nolan who directed Dark Knight, which was a lot better than Batman Begins. So although it is a good movie, Batman Begins, but Dark Knight was superior. So there's still an exception, I guess. But lately, I've been noticing that with directors when they direct a sequel, it tends to not be as good as the first one. Just like John Wick. John Wick 2 was good, but it wasn't as good as John Wick 1. So the same here. Specifically, back to the CGI. Green screen, CGI issues. You can tell it's CGI, and I get it. Like, it's a comic book movie, it's supposed to be a lot of CGIs. But like I said earlier, you can have a comic book movie that is just a movie. It doesn't have to be a lot of CGI. One movie that come to mind, Logan. Logan, if I can even remember, besides the claws, really not that much CGI. I mean, there's some action sequences where it requires wires and wire work, so that was CGI out, I'm sure, and maybe some locations were CGI, but overall, you can barely see the CGI, and if anything, it's not CGI heavy type movie, so you can still have a comic book movie that's not a lot of CGI, but in this case, I get it. You have to have the CGI. Problem is if you execute it poorly, like it did in this movie, where Patty uses a lot of close-ups of Wonder Woman when she's doing all this great, awesome stuff like flying in the clouds or jumping over from vehicle to vehicle. You can tell that it was a green screen in the background. And it's annoying because I hate that. I hate knowing that there's a green screen there, even though I know there is a green screen there. When I watch a movie, I want to be immersed in the movie, be a part of that movie. And I just wasn't. And speaking of that immersion, the action sequences weren't immersive enough, weren't intense, weren't jaw-dropping, weren't exciting, weren't fun. And that was a big drawback and pissed me off, obviously, a lot more than I thought it would. Because, aside from the CGI and lackluster action sequences, there wasn't that many. I mean, I think maybe three big action sequences. One in the beginning in the mall, which is really not that great if I, thinking about it, because it's just trying to be like another Sam Raimi type Spider-Man 2, or where they like blend in some comedy, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, like something you would see in a Marvel movie, but that only fits in a Marvel movie. So there's that scene, and then the other scene with the trucks, which you saw in the trailers, with when she was like pushing the truck with her like leg pressing it, and that whole sequence with the convoy was pretty good. But then, like I said, the green screen kind of threw me off because there was a lot of it. The third one was, and you can see that I'm having a hard time trying to remember these action sequences because they weren't that good. Otherwise, I would remember it. Like the first one, when she was helping out, or when she first, showed her uniform or whatever you want to call it, while they were shooting at her. I mean, that's the one thing I just remember. They don't even use her shield. I don't remember seeing her shield in this entire movie. That shield would have been cool. Well, anyway, so yeah, so there's that scene in the battlefield, and then there's that scene in the village, and then of course the CGI heavy third act scene with Ares. But even though that was CGI, that was what I'm talking about. It's fun, exciting, and there wasn't any of that in here. No, it just came to me. The third scene was in the White House. That was in the trailer as well. Wasn't really much. If you saw the trailer, you pretty much saw 90% of that scene. And then the final fight with Cheetah, which, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to explain that scene. Like, it's one of those, I mean, if you remember, if you saw Black Panther in the end, when they were both fighting, two CGI characters, very noticeable. However, compared to that, I think that was a little bit more exciting than this scene. I mean, this fight with Cheetah, it seemed like she was just throwing her around, and they were like throwing each other around. And then she has, her armor with her wing thing, and supposedly that armor was supposed to rejuvenate her powers in the comic books, but I think she was just wearing it to protect herself because, I mean, she kind of got her powers back when she renounced her wish, and that's the thing about the plot. Beware what you wish for, kind of deal. It's cliche, but you think about it, the whole plot is this guy Maxwell Lord, who's the other villain in this movie, pretty much lost his money. He's an oil tycoon. He wants to be an oil tycoon, but lost his money, lost his business, and then you find this MacGuffin, this stone that grants you wishes, and he becomes the stone. And then anyone who wants to make a wish, he would grant, but then he would take it back. In a sense, kind of like a monkey's paw is what they mentioned in the movie. First time I'm hearing that phrase, by the way. Never heard of that before, but yeah, pretty much beware what you wish for. You wish one thing, and then maybe good for you, but then there's a consequence. So that was pretty much the premise of that. So at the end of the day, it ruined it. The world would end. It's just so messed up, and kind of like this review. It's like, because I'm trying to remember anything really good about the movie, and I can't. It's just like moments that were good. It's not completely what I expected, yeah, I'm kind of pissed off. I'm pissed off with this movie, but even with all that, and I know I'm leaving out a lot. So if you saw this movie already, I'm sure you just leave in the comments. Tell me what I missed. I'm sure I missed a lot. In the end of the day, I don't really care for this movie. I was kind of hoping I can rewatch it again, but while I'm doing this, I'm thinking, it's not worth my time. Don't get me wrong, though. Like I said, it's not as bad as Justice League. I saw that in the theater, and I almost want to leave. I just wanted to finish it because I paid for that movie. So, but yeah, I think like towards the beginning of the third act, I wanted to leave. It was so bad. Anyway, but yeah, what really pissed me off, regardless, was the fact that we got a sequel to Wonder Woman instead of getting a sequel to Man of Steel. And that's what really, really pissed me off. I really wish we had a Man of Steel sequel instead. But we did. They wanted to have this movie, and it was released in HBO Max. And that's fine. But now, I really want a Man of Steel sequel. But we're probably not going to have that, so it is what it is. Hey, but at least Snyder Cut's coming.